National liberation leaders like Ho Chi Minh were facing a superpower. Leftover guns from the Second World War were not enough. More arms were needed, and fast. In the USSR, Kalashnikov had perfected his gun. Its official name was the Automat Kalashnikov Model 1947, but it was soon known everywhere as the AK-47.
Вот с первых дней вот я задался такой целью, что красота нужна не только женщинам, а и оружию.
Kalashnikov's AK combined the range and power of a rifle with the portability of a machine pistol.
One of the important features of the AK-47 is how extremely simple a mechanism it is and how you can teach untrained soldiers or peasant soldiers how to strip and maintain this rifle. It's now field stripped.
Когда я ездил по пограничным войскам, я беру горсть песку, открываю крышку автомата или пулемета, засыпаю, говорю, стреляйте. Вот. Они говорят, а нам ведь за это нас ругают, наказывают. Я говорю, правильно.
They're typically Soviet, they're not real accurate, but they work well. And a soldier can be pretty effective with one without a lot of training. And it is the great proletarian weapon.
By the 1960s, the first crates of AK-47s landed in eastern Laos. Their destination, Vietnam. 9 years after driving the French from North Vietnam, Ho Chi Minh stepped up his campaign to liberate the South. Thousands of Viet Cong guerrillas carrying Chinese-made AK-47s took the Ho Chi Minh Trail from Hanoi to the southern tip of Vietnam. Late one night in 1963, the guerrillas reached the small village of Ki Lai.
The very first time that I heard the AK-47, I think that is when Viet Cong killed my teacher. They know that he working for Americans, for the CIA. That is why the Viet Cong killed him.
At 12 years old, Lê Ly Hayslip joined the Viet Cong.
We call him Uncle Liberation. To Vietnamese, Viet Cong is our brothers, our father, our uncle. You have to fight back somehow, and the only thing we can find is to help the Viet Cong so that they can fight.
Lê Ly kept the local militants informed of troop movements, stole weapons for them when she could, and hid their precious AK-47s. One day, she was working in the field outside her village.
It come from nowhere. It just land there. It's just like an angel. We scared of him. He looked tall and mean, very powerful in his uniform. He just stepped out from his helicopter and surveyed the land. And the children all around him, but he just paid no attention to us, and he just get back in his machine and flew back to heaven. But then he came back not just 10 or 20, but 100 of this machine. And now they have machine gun.
The US had decided to commit its own troops to the war against Ho Chi Minh. Soon, there were almost 500,000 American troops in Vietnam. David Wilkie came from Fort Carson, Colorado.
I wasn't trying to be a hero to go. I just thought it was the right thing to do because my friends were going too. And for a 19 or 20-year-old, it looked like it might be a fun year to go and see what this was all about.
Wilkie served on a Huey assault helicopter, or Slick. The Huey's two M60 machine guns were manned only by volunteers. Wilkie became a door gunner. Strapped in, legs dangling in the open sky, his job, to attach his M60 machine gun to a bungee cord and fire.
We were looking for human targets. If you didn't see that, you fired at what you thought would be a probable place for the enemy to be. You know, I had managed to put probably 30 or 40 bullets into an area with two people very close together, and they had nowhere to go, and all they could do was just take the bullets. They couldn't run, they couldn't duck, they couldn't hide. They were clearly in a bad place at the wrong time, and it cost them both their lives.
Panic is coming. It's not just quiet. It's just like a tornado that goes right through your village.
Door gunners were so hated, the Viet Cong put a price on their heads.
You know how many villages he went to a day, and you know how many women and children and men can kill a day with one gunman. So yeah, if we can kill him, that will save a lot of us. We feel he's just a machine gun. He's not a human. He becomes the gun himself. His conscience is not there. It's just like he has no heart.
We had adopted a mountain yard village probably 3 miles or 3 kilometers from our base, and we would go out there as volunteers, and we built a schoolhouse. We'd wash all the Vietnamese babies, and we would drink their rice wine with them. And it turned out that during the Tet Offensive, that was where most of our rocket attacks were coming from. You know, so we ended up leveling that village one night. We ended up destroying everything we built that year.
Areas suspected of supporting the Viet Cong were designated free kill zones. Anything that moved could be gunned down.
The bullet that makes the biggest hole will do the most damage. They'll tumble inside the body. Then when the yaw is at its maximum, it will magnify the size of the wound track and make it the length of the bullet.
And the bigger the hole, the deadlier it is.
If you killed an enemy, what have you done? Well, you've got one dead enemy, okay? That's what you want to do. But if you wound an enemy, what have you done? You've taken him out of the action and 2 of his friends who have to pick him up and carry him off. So there's great value in wounding the enemy.
Wars are won on the ground, and the United States needed a high-tech infantry answer to the Viet Cong's tough and reliable AK-47. They thought they'd found it in a sophisticated assault rifle created by an American gun designer, Eugene Stoner. Stoner's gun, the M16. To keep it light, Stoner simplified the gas mechanism and used aluminium and plastic. But the US Army thought the M16 underpowered. To give it more punch and greater range, they equipped it with a higher-powered cartridge. As a result, the mechanism failed, and many young GIs died clutching a jammed M16. As the body bags came home, the US Army scrambled to find a way to increase firepower, to strip the jungle cover, target enemy units, and reduce the need for American ground troops. The answer to their prayers, a gun more than 100 years old. Years before, retired Army Colonel Melvin M. Johnson, Jr. had found an antique model Gatling gun and attached an electric motor to the hand crank.
The developers of this new weapon call it the Rapid Fire Minigun. Watch this.